Hi everybody and welcome to Memusi Live 2. Apologies it's not live. Apologies that you're watching this as a recording. Unfortunately, several things came up in the last week which meant that we weren't able to host the event live. However, we've got some great content that I wanted to share. Content that tells more of a story about how we're moving forward and some of the exciting work that we're doing. Very conscious of holidays coming up and August, and I didn't really want to try and find another date that was convenient for people in August. So Memusi Live 3 will come in September, but for now, I really hope you enjoy this content for Memusi Live 2. So, Memusi Live 1, we looked backwards. We talked about the pandemic. You saw Peter, you saw Anne, you saw Joseph. We talked more about the pandemic and how things have been in Magadi and what life's like for people and you know how we've responded as an organisation and how we've innovated and changed. What we're going to be doing today in Memusi Live 2 is looking at some of the ways that we have evolved and for me to be able to tell you more about the strategy, the work that we're doing at Memusi to reach as many children as we possibly can with quality education. So I really, really hope that you like this content and the speakers that we've got today joining. One of the things that we sat down as a board of trustees after Memusi Live 1 and we looked at all the feedback and all of the lovely messages. Thank you for the lovely messages, all of the messages that came through. And we reflected and said, next time we do this, what would we do? One of the things that one of the trustees said is it'd be great if we had some of the kids that we could see. So before I go any further and talk any more, hopefully you'll enjoy this video. Sally ni Mrembo.
Sally ni mrembo sana.
What does that mean? Hello, boys.
I really hope you liked that. as much as we enjoyed seeing it live when the kids did it, I think it's great after all of this time not being in school and not being able to be with the family in Kenya. It's so amazing to see how well people are looking and how happy people are as well. So I hope that at the start of this session today has put a smile on your face as well. So moving on now to the content and moving on to looking forward and bringing to life more about that Memusi strategy. So, like any strategy, I guess, things evolve. And the same happens in any company and any projects that you do over a sustained period of time. Things evolve because situations change. For those of you that have listened to the podcast and heard more about the startings of Memusi and how we did things, you'll have heard me talk about that one classroom per year model. Now, that one classroom per year model is a model that is absolutely something that we still hold belief in and something that has stood us in good stead for a number of years. The whole premise around that is as you're building a school, we would take in children who are 3 and 4 year old. The children that are already in the school would move up a year, and we build a classroom every single year and grow the school organically that way, rather than throwing money at a project and having the classrooms there. The reason being is that you can't put children into education who've never been educated before. And again, just to try and bring that to life for people and explain more about that and what we have to do at Memusi. The children who we support speak Maasai. There are a number of languages spoken in Kenya. There's a lot of local languages and tribal languages that are spoken. There is then the language of the country, which is Swahili, and then you've got the language of business, which is English. So our teachers are not all Maasai. We've got a handful of teachers who are Maasai, who live locally, and then others come from around Kenya, and they don't speak Maasai, they speak the language of the country, which is Swahili. So our youngest children learn from a Maasai teacher, and part of that journey in the first year and 2 years is that the children will learn to speak Swahili, so that when the children then enter the next classrooms from PP2, which is the third year group that we've got at Memusi, they will start learning in Swahili then, rather than their local language. So there's a whole journey for a child to go on in school. So really important that we take things slowly and we grow things organically, like I said. And that's what we've done for a number of years at Memusi a model driven by the amount of money that we had at the very start, a model that we've adapted on Memusi B, and a model that we adapted when we developed in Tanzania as well. This is the right thing to do. This is the right approach when you're building a school. Any new school that we build, we're building Memusi C at the moment, and I'm going to come on and talk more about that later on in this session. But any new schools that we build in the future, Memusi D or anything else, ultimately will be built under that model as well, because it's the right model to use. So what's new strategy and what are we currently working on, and what's the vision for the future then? So we have our own schools. We've got Memusi A and we've got Memusi B, and we're building Memusi C at the moment as well. And we also support a school, an orphanage in Narok, which is another part of Kenya. It's a long-standing relationship where we support them with small projects and small grants throughout the year to help them to survive and thrive in their amazing work that they do with orphans. So we have our own schools. That remains our number one focus. Our number one focus on supporting the children at our Memusi schools, helping those children to grow, helping to support the teachers, challenging ourselves on raising the education standard and for those schools to be the very best that they can be. Indeed, our overall goal is that those schools are markers of quality. So when any other school wants to develop and any other future project that we do, we want to look at Memusi and we want to go, that's how education should be done. So we continue to invest heavily in those projects and continue to support those children there. The second part of our strategy is we call Memusi Outreach. Now, this is something that you may have heard me talk about before. For those of you that follow me on social media, or indeed the Memusi channels on social media, you will see me talking about Memusi Outreach. Now, everything that we do in Memusi Outreach, we also do in our own schools as well. Memusi Outreach came about because I was sitting with head teacher Solomon from Memusi a number of years ago now. I think it's about 4 years ago now. I was sitting with him in February. Now, every January, schools open. And the school opens for a couple of days for registration. So children will come and register to be part of the school for the year ahead, and you get new children who come and enrol for early years education as well. Some parents may need to come for an interview and to make sure that we're getting the right children coming into our education system. And I said to Solomon, how did registration go? And he said, great. It was brilliant. It was a really good couple of days, Matthew. And a real mark of where we are now as a school is that we had to turn children away. There was queues of children here, and we had to turn children away because we just couldn't take that many children because we're so popular, because our grades are so high, because it's such a good place to come. There's people who've moved from all over the county to try and be local so that they can come to school. Now, I understand why Solomon, as head teacher, would smile and would see that as a mark of quality. I, however, don't see that as a mark of quality. That, for me, is a sign of a problem in that there are children having to move to be closer to get a good education. There are children who are having to be turned away, and where do they go? And that's a problem for me. You have children who are walking past the doors of other schools because that school's not right, so that they can come to Memusi. So what I wanted to do is to develop a new part of our strategy which would allow us to support schools and other schools in the Magadi ward, so 20 schools in total, to have the Memusi education without it being a Memusi school. Now, as I talked about the one classroom per year model, that's a slow approach. You know, you're talking perhaps 12-year journey before you're at a point where you've got 400 children that you're supporting. The Memusi Outreach programme helps us to be able to reach children way faster and make sure that children, at the same time as us delivering the quality that we are doing, is that we're raising the education standards right across the board with other schools. That's great for them. It's also great for us as well, because if other schools are performing incredibly well, then it prompts our own teachers and our own head teacher to raise their game again and push even harder to be the very best that they can be. So hence we launched Memusi Outreach. So the third part of our strategy, so we've got our own schools as markers of quality, we've got Memusi Outreach, which I'm going to come back to in a second, and then the final part, the third part, is us trying to influence change. in Magadi, in Kajiado County, and wider Kenya as well. There is only so far that Memusi can go, but we really believe in what we're doing. We really believe in our model. We really believe that we're seeing incredible results. And I don't want to hold that back. We don't want to hold that back. We want to share that output so that we can inspire and lead change in other schools as well. Influence that change in government, influence that change in other people who are spending education money, to make sure that education is going in the right direction. Everyone's doing it, holding hands along the way. And again, I'm going to come back to that because what we're doing at Memusi C is a real demonstration of that. So let me tell you a little bit more about Memusi Outreach now and what that contains. So Memusi Outreach, it's not about building classrooms. It's not about the infrastructure that's there. Whilst infrastructure is something that we work on, and I'm going to talk about that again in a sec, it's way more than classrooms. Classrooms is something that I think is a necessity, but for a lot of people, they focus on the classroom. A lot of charities focus on the classroom. A lot of people in power within government focus on classrooms as well. Classrooms for me, yeah, important, but it's probably one of the things that I'd put further down the line. I think what we need to focus on is what's going on inside the classroom, which is where Memusi Outreach really comes into its own. How do you raise those education standards? How do you empower teachers? How do you impact attendance and all of the things that need to be done to really help bring that Memusi education without being in a Memusi school? So there are 4 areas. First area is healthcare. So let me tell you a little bit about healthcare. Healthcare comes with a number of subcategories as well. So first of all is deworming and providing vitamins to children. So we partner with Tata and Magadi Soda Foundation, and through them have a grant through an organisation called Vitamin Angels to provide wormers for every single child in Magadi. So every single year we are reaching in the region of about 15,000 children. So why wormers? And what's the problem there? This came about through some research that I was doing, and it's an incredible book that I've got where it talks about the testing of influencing factors on the quality of education and what has the biggest impact. And one of the things that came out top was the deworming of children in Kenya. Dewormers cost in the region of about 25 pence. It costs about 25 pence to deworm a child. Now, a child that has got abdominal worms is in pain, is likely to not be in school. If they are in school, they're probably not able to concentrate because of the discomfort that they've got in their tummy. A child whose parents have got worms is probably not in school because they're having to take on some of the chores that the parents would do. So it's such a basic problem that children are having. So for us to have the ability in partnership with Magadi Soda Foundation to be able to reach every single child in Magadi is such a massive impact, and a massive impact on attendance. We've seen in the schools that we've been supporting the absence in education. We've seen absence drop dramatically, and school absence is now in the region of less than 2% now, which is an incredible statistic to be at. So something so basic means that children are able to be in the classroom longer, which means that they've got longer to be learning. They're in school to get food, and therefore the nutrition is increased as well. So it's the right thing to do, but it's such a big contributing factor to a child's education. The second thing that we do, and it's something we've been doing for a number of years now, is providing free healthcare. So again, healthcare is not free in Kenya, so people who are living in abject poverty when they get ill struggle to get to the pharmacy to get medication. People who have problems with their teeth, people who've got problems with their eyes, people who've got problems with their joints, people who've got basic issues are living with those issues that then become a detrimental impact then on their lives. So again, when you think about somebody who has really basic healthcare needs, without the treatment, there is likely to be a child who's not going to school because they need to be at home to care for the parent. I remember something that we did as part of a health camp was bring in off-the-shelf spectacles, glasses. And we did eye tests, and there was a man whose eyesight was really bad, and through the glasses that we got, it meant that he could see. Now, he had a child, his grandchild was there as his support every single day because he couldn't see. Having the glasses meant that he could now see, he could lead an independent life, and that child got to go to school. So those small interactions, those small interventions mean that, again, you've got children in school. The children who are ill are getting support and treatment as well. And again, it's about having them in the classroom. It's about having them well, and giving them the ability to learn. We do this in a number of ways. One is we partner with an organisation, and have done for many years now, called Ma Healthcare Initiative. It's a great organisation who provide free healthcare. So they do this voluntarily. We buy the medication. We bring the doctors from other places in Kenya who come and do that support voluntarily. Amazing people. Some of you watching might have had the ability to support those health camps as well and seen those in practice. But they have such a massive impact. The last time we calculated, we'd given over £3 million worth of free healthcare. It hasn't cost us that amount of money, but if that had been healthcare that people had to have sought themselves, that would have cost that local economy, the local people there, a total of £3 million. That's the level of support that we've given. We've also partnered in the past with an organisation from Ireland called VideoDoc. If you look on our YouTube channel, they've done a video, it's a 5-minute video about their time with us in Kenya. So I look forward to working with members of that team going forward as well, and seeing what more we can do in that space to really have long-lasting impacts in that area, in the healthcare area. The final area that we work in healthcare is through female hygiene. One of the things that I've noticed over time is every head teacher's office that I go in, when I visit other schools, I go in a head teacher's office, and every school has got the same chart on the wall. And the same chart is year by year. So it'll be grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and then it'll be a column for boys and a column for girls. And what you will see is equality, so an even balance. You might have 25 boys, 25 girls, maybe even more girls than boys. But then as the years go on, it starts changing, where you've got almost in grade 7, grade 8, grade 6 maybe, you've got hardly any girls. Now what's happened is that girls have started their periods and have probably dropped out of school. At best, girls will probably miss a week of school because they don't want to be in school during their period. It's an embarrassment for girls, and girls would historically have used rags, maybe feathers, or even nothing, and perhaps just sat on the ground and sat on the sand during that week. And I think that embarrassment then leads to girls not coming to school, and like I say, at best, their education being interrupted. But then that also then spreads on to the rest of the class as well, where girls are falling behind, and that education really needs bringing back up. We have worked with and been really fortunate over a number of years to get grants from a couple of different funders to provide reusable sanitary pads for girls. Now, reusable sanitary pads cost $5 for a girl for a year. And we work with local Maasai girls, so we don't have anyone from the UK doing the training. We don't even have people from other tribes. We have women who the girls can associate with, people who speak their own language, who can talk about how their bodies are changing, what periods are. We also talk about the ability to say no to sex, to that girls have the rights to be able to say no, to be able to look after their own future. But at the same time, we then do the training of with the AfriPads so that the girls know how to use them, how to care for themselves, and to understand what's going on. We piloted this a couple of years ago in 4 schools. We saw absence drop by 40%. So in one school, absence in girls, adolescent girls, dropped from 44% to 0 in a month. So again, dramatic impact. $5, one girl, dramatic impact. So you'll be able to imagine there what is actually going on then, as the girls are staying in school for longer. Education and the consistency of education is maintained. We're therefore getting such a different impact on the quality of education. So a number of different streams in healthcare, wide-ranging community schools with the focus on having kids in school and maintaining their health. Such an important ingredient in education. So the second part is infrastructure. Now, I did say that we're not involved in infrastructure, but what I meant by that is that we don't build classrooms or buildings in other places other than our own. Infrastructure, however, is way more than that. It's about looking at what goes on inside a classroom. Now, those of you who have talked to me over the last couple of years will likely have heard me talking about my really strong belief that way too many people who are involved in education and in international development focus on the building, focus on the classroom, and believe that if you've got a classroom, if you've got, you therefore have a school, which I don't buy. The classrooms are important, incredibly important, but there is so much more that needs to be focused on with life within the classroom. So where Memusi gets involved is in a number of areas. So one of the areas, for example, was that we've been fortunate to get a grant recently to get individual desks. Now, our desks at Memusi are shared desks. They're called bench desks, where children will have 2 children, maybe 3 children per desk. What I wanted to do is have individual desks which give the children the space to learn, to make sure that they've got their own resources and their own learning space to be able to really focus on education in a comfortable environment rather than having lots of children bunched up. Now, as I say, we've replaced the bench desks that we already had. But what we've done, instead of just getting rid of the desks or putting them in storage, what we are doing is giving away those bench desks that we have. And we've got a total of 95 that we're going to be giving away to 3 specific schools who actually don't have desks, or in fact, they've got a handful of desks, but then you've got children who may be sitting 4 to a bench and even children who will be sitting on the floor. So what we're doing is making sure that the resources that we've replaced, we've fixed them, we've repaired them, we've renovated them, and they are now going out. So that's a total of, if you look at that as 2 children per bench desk, that's a total of 190 children who are going to be having seating. So our own children are benefiting, but then you've also then got the other 3 schools that are benefiting as well from having space and having children sitting at a desk and rather than sitting on the floor. So again, real benefit there for children. We support with materials wherever we possibly can as well, making sure that schools have got access to the learning materials and textbooks and all of the things that they need to be able to learn, and the teachers have got the resources they need to be able to teach properly. And then finally, another piece of work that we've been doing for the last couple of years, it has been severely hampered in the pace of progress because of COVID. However, what we have done is been able to install computers in our own school, but also install in some of our partnering schools, neighbouring schools as well, to give them access to computers. Now, the computers are not just the computer that, you know, if you went to Currys or PC World and bought, and it's not the computers that you look at on your desk at home. These are different types of computers that support in classroom learning. It's got special technology on there that helps children to self-learn. They're great. They're great computers from an organisation called Kamara. Now, Kamara are based in Ireland, but they also have got teams spread out all across the developing world. So we've been working with Kamara Kenya on this project. So the first video that I'm going to share now is talking to a chap called Samson from Kamara. Now, Samson did work with Kamara pre-pandemic. However, there's been a number of job losses because of the pandemic. We brought Sam into our team for the next next year to be able to support us with really embedding the computers into our teaching and our in-class activity. So here's Sam now. I hope you find this really informative. Hi, Sam. Nice to see you.
Great to see you.
Good. So, Sam, I wanted to just go into a little bit of detail about Kamara and about the computers that we bought, because we've been doing a project at Memusi A and at El Paracu, one of our neighbouring schools. I just wanted to get an insight from you as somebody who's been working with us for the last 3 months and certainly even longer as well at Kamara. So could you, for the benefit of everyone who's listening in today, could you tell us a little bit more about what Kamara computers are?
Thank you, Matthew. I think Kamara computers are a big resource for the students and the kids at Memusi and all the Memusi schools. And I think it's an opportunity for both the teachers and the students to learn, or rather bridge the gap when it comes to technology. Memusi working in those particular regions that are a bit marginalized, I think the computers will be a great opportunity for the children to just be able to come on board and join the rest of the world as far as technology is concerned. Yeah. Brilliant.
So the computers are not just computers, are they? It's not just a computer. They come with preloaded technology on that supports learning. So can you tell us a little bit more about what that is? What do the computers come preloaded with?
Okay, yeah. So the computers come preloaded with educational content that is curriculum based in Kenya. And so that means that from children will be able to learn from grade 1 up to the primary level, that is standard 8 in Kenya. So in terms of geography, in terms of numerical and literacy skills, they'll be able to get at least resources that are already preloaded on the computers themselves. So the teachers together with the students will get an opportunity to engage at that level. Also, the computers come with an offline Wikipedia for research purposes. So probably for the older students and the teachers who need to engage for research, they can be able to get an offline Wikipedia. Of course, with internet coming on board, then that will be even far much better. They can be able to access the entire access of research online. Yeah.
Brilliant. So we're saying teachers will be better teachers because they will access even more materials. We're also saying students have access to self-learning as well, so they can access those resources even when teachers are not available, they can learn for much longer as well. So that's obviously excellent.
Yeah.
And obviously, these computers are available to people in the community as well. Do you have experience as well of community members accessing computers as well, and how that can improve rural communities?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first beneficiaries of the in terms of the community will be the parents of the students themselves. I think the parents coming on board and seeing that their children are learning as far as technology is concerned, they'll be able to get an opportunity to engage from their perspective as a community level. Of course, with the arrangement of the entire Memusi team, we could be able to involve the larger community. For example, the board of directors of the parents, teachers associations, so on and so forth. So I think this is also a great opportunity for the community to engage and just to bridge the gap as far as technological skills are concerned.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just one final question, Sam, before we let you go. Tell me about we've obviously are going through the process of installing computers now, doing the setup and everything. Tell us about how you and Kamara work with training of teachers as well, because for some teachers, computers won't be a common thing. So what are you doing from a training point of view as well?
Well, I'll say one of the things probably Kamara will be able to do is to bring training for the teachers in terms of just utilizing that technology, that resource that is available. So hopefully Kamara will be training the teachers probably in the next few coming weeks. And so the training will involve all the teachers and at various levels of their where they're engaged as far as learning is concerned. So I think the training is an important part just to mention, so that the teachers will be able to utilize the technology that is available on the ground. So once the training is done, then I think we can be able to move forward. Yeah.
Brilliant. So that training, as you say, is an integral part, isn't it? It helps teachers understand how to embrace and integrate computers into the curriculum and how they can utilize it in addition in the classroom in their own teaching as well, which is excellent. Sam, welcome to Memusi. It's great to have you on board, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us as well.
Thank you, Matthew.
So really appreciate Sam taking the time. I think Sam's probably listening in now and watching this video as well. So thank you, Sam, for taking the time to talk to us. He's such an intelligent guy who's been working in the technology industry for such a long time. He's a great member of the Memusi team. And I think, for me, that conversation really brings to life quite how important these computers are going to be. It's going to support the teachers being better teachers. It gives the teachers materials that they can support children in the classroom with, and then at the same time, it also gives children the ability for self-learning as well. So just brilliant technology there, and I really look forward over the coming years to see how that really impacts our education. The third area is community empowerment, building stronger communities, supporting parents. We're doing that in a number of ways. First of all, we've already talked about the healthcare side of this and supporting communities with healthcare. However, we have also, certainly over the last year, 18 months, again, those of you that have listened to the first live event have heard us talking about the Smart Aid program and the livestock, and through that program being able to teach people who are unemployed on how to look after livestock and develop that trade, and also give them the materials to be able to create employment and income for themselves. One of our teachers, Sam, who lives in the community and works with us on community outreach, also has come forward in the last couple of weeks and talked to me about a soap making project. Could we support 10 unemployed parents in being trained on how to make soap and having the relevant materials to be able to start their own businesses and their own sort of cooperative business in soap production as well that they can sell and sustain themselves. Because, you know, a supported community, a supported parent means, again, it's less impact on the child, and it means that the child is, again, in school for longer. So that's one area that we're helping. The other area that we launched a couple of years ago is in adult education. So, you know, we've got classrooms that, because of the younger children leaving earlier in the day, we've got classrooms that are stood empty. So what we have done is launched an adult literacy program where we provide free education to adults, to parents who had dropped out of school early, or in fact never set foot in the classroom, to give them the ability to learn and to give them the ability to support their child, and to give them the ability to start looking at their own enterprises as well and start creating their own incomes. What we have found academically is at Memusi B, the latest place that we've measured this, is that over 80% of children whose parents went to adult education progressed at a faster rate. Their grades increased at a faster rate than children whose parents didn't. Imagine the scenario where a child brings a book home, or brings their maths home and says, "Mum, Dad, what's this? What does this word mean?" The parents not got the ability to do it because they don't understand. So again, the educated parent, again, it's just taking those grades higher. It's the ability of supporting children at home even further forward. So again, an integral part of what we do. So the final part is teacher development. Now, those of you who have met the teachers at Memusi and have met some of the other teachers in other local schools will just know how great they are. They are absolutely incredible teachers, no doubt about that. However, everybody can develop, everybody can learn. And one thing that I've grown to know over many years is how eager and willing those teachers are to be even better, at their jobs. We partnered with an organisation called Impact Teachers. Now, Impact Teachers are based in London and New York, and Impact Teachers had developed a programme that would work internationally. They'd worked previously in India, and they were looking to work in Africa. And I met Impact Teachers and I told them about what we do. I met with Nathan and brought Nathan down to Kenya and to show him Memusi and to talk to him about what we were trying to do as a charity as well. So I caught up with Nathan a couple of weeks ago, and this is our conversation where hopefully it comes to life a little bit more about what we're doing in the teacher development space. Nathan, hi. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time this morning. Well, it'll be this evening when we're playing this video, but thanks for joining us.
No problem.
So I will tell people a little bit about the partnership already in pre-playing this video. But could you please tell us in your own words a little bit about Impact?
Yeah, of course. We're a recruitment agency, an education recruitment agency. We're based in London. Our passion is teaching and education. We work with a lot of schools, a lot of teachers, some teaching assistants as well. But we also have another element of our business, of our company, which is educational outreach programs, where we develop education and work with teachers overseas, which is how we got to work with Matt and with Memusi. So we are an education recruitment company, but we also do a lot of educational work in developing teaching and learning. Brilliant, thank you, Nathan. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago that I met you. Now you reached out to me, which was great, and I told you all about Memusi because I know you were at the time you'd been in India. Was that right? Were you delivering the program in India? Correct. Yeah, we'd had some time delivering in Delhi in India, and just with some changes, we were looking for a new partner, and which is how we got to know Matt. Brilliant.
So we spoke about Memusi, we spoke about Impact Teachers. Tell everyone who's listening a bit more about the program. So what does it look like? What do you do? Who's involved? Help people understand a little bit more about the work that you do in Kenya with us.
Yeah, the program's it's fantastic. We've been developing it for years now, years and years, and so we've had lots of opportunities and lots of different contexts to try things and to work things out. And as everyone knows, with education, there's a lot of forward feedback that needs to go on to get things right, and you're forever fine tuning. But what we've got to the point now, what we were doing in Magadi was we take a team that has an impact leader, perhaps myself or another senior member at the company, and we bring a collection of volunteers, 6 to 8 volunteers. The volunteers are teachers that are generally based in London, working for us here in London, and those teachers have qualifications not always from the UK, sometimes they're from Australia or New Zealand or from Canada or wherever. So we get a really cool eclectic bunch of volunteers to come across, which I think is really great. It gives a very broad spectrum of education. So we come out to Kenya and we bring our team, and the Memusi team looks after us on the ground. And what we do when we're out there is we deliver through the use of seminars sort of some broad educational concepts. So we touch on things like active learning, extending learning, effective feedback, all things that pedagogically people would be doing in their own training, regardless of their country, and the Kenyan teachers themselves will have done in their own training. But what we're doing is sort of going back to that theory, and we're underpinning it with a real focus on student engagement, exciting the students and having student-led and student-focused lessons. So that's how we deliver the content over a period of time in Kenya. We go out for a week at a time and we do 3 separate trips, and each trip builds on the one prior to. But what really makes it different, I think what makes it unique and different to another professional development course, is that our volunteers take the theory that we deliver in the evenings and they implement it practically into the lessons of the teachers that they work with throughout the week. So we pair up our impact volunteers with the Kenyan teachers. They work with the same teacher throughout the whole week. They get to know them, they get to build a relationship, they collaborate. And what we encourage them to do is to take some of these concepts that we're talking about and actually put them into their specific classes, their specific lessons. So instead of just talking about a broad educational pedagogical concept, you're then taking that and saying, right, but how can a particular teacher do that in a grade 6 class or in the baby class? And we actually have our guys work with the Kenyan teachers to put together lessons and then observe them and then give them feedback. And that goes for a week. So by the time we get to the end of the week, there's been a huge amount of feedback and feed forward throughout. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to begin with on the Monday when it's still very new and people getting to know each other. But by the time we get to the Friday, what we witnessed was that our volunteers and the Kenyan teachers were working really, really well together, and the collaboration and the improvements that we were seeing were just incredible. So I guess what it is, it's no different to any sort of CPD that you see in the UK, but we take it a step further by actually implementing things, taking the theory and put it into practice, which is a difficult thing to do. And we saw a lot of improvements on that throughout the time. Brilliant.
And you know, this program is built to last over time, isn't it? You know, it's you've obviously gone and delivered it in 3 times in the year. You just touch upon as well how we make it sustainable as well, so that when you walk away, that it's there to stay within the school.
Absolutely. The two goals that we're working for, the one is to increase student engagement and attainment, which is great, and we can measure that through student grades, etc. But the other one is to put, as Matt says, some form of sustainability, and the sustainability comes in our work with the Kenyan teachers. So this creating a culture around professional development that's a positive culture, not a culture where they're worried where someone's looking over their shoulder as to what they're doing in the classroom, promoting a collaboration so that when we go away, ideally the Kenyan cohort can do that within their own classrooms, within their own schools, set up their own observations to help inform each other's professional development. So the idea is that we simply touch on some key concepts in terms of the pedagogy, but what we're really trying to do is introduce the idea, the positive notion of ongoing professional development. Look at what your colleagues are doing, be open to having people come into your classroom and assess what you're doing, and to feed that back to each other in a positive, collaborative way. It's a very interesting one, and anyone that's been in a teaching environment, if you have an observation, your first feelings is of anxiety. You're worried about, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Are they going to judge me? And it's us trying to break down that stereotype and say, well, actually, no, this can be really, really uplifting instead. And if we can encourage that to be a positive culture that's ongoing, then the sorts of improvements that we begin can continue, hopefully in a sustainable way moving forward.
Yeah. Brilliant. I know every time I've visited over the last couple of years, every time I visit the impact materials out, the teachers are continually reviewing, led by Eric and Silas and a small group of people who've taken that leadership role, which is, so it's amazing to see. You know, I think for me, Nathan, as I've said to you before, teacher development is one of a number of pillars that will reach quality, and people will hear me say continually, a school is more than a building, and for a lot of charities, a school is a building. You know, once it's built, that's it. But for me, you need to get healthcare right, you need to get nutrition right, you need to have the materials right, but you also need to have the teachers with the right skills to be able to excel as well. And I think, you know, what you are contributing there is a key part of our strategy. So, you know, I can't thank you enough, and what impact teachers are doing enough in that space. I think it's remarkable. Already in the last year, we've seen our grades increase by 40 points, you know, which I think is fantastic. That's just children who've seen the benefit of impact in a year. I think children 2, 3, 4, 8 years down the line who get to see this and get to see all of that benefit through teachers, I think it's the school's just gonna rock it from here. So I think it's fantastic. Thank you, Nathan. Just one final thing before you go. I could talk to you all day about education. Just one final thing before we go. Could you tell me, you've been to Memusi now 4 or 5 times, I think it is.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about your impressions of Memusi and the teachers, the teaching team that we've got there?
Absolutely. I was really nervous the first time I went, because I'd never been to Kenya before, and I jumped in a Land Rover with Matt and we drove hours into the desert, and I was like, where are we going? But when we arrived there, we got a welcome like I've never had before, and in terms of just the incredible warmth and love and personality, and just the feeling of welcome that I got when I first arrived was amazing. And that was before they even really knew what we were sort of there doing. And it was a situation where I walked into an environment that was open to learn, really, really keen to do the best for their community, the best for their students. Really wanted to help each other out, collaborate as staff, and desperate for any opportunity to push themselves. You know, I was blown away by the level of sort of positive commitment that I saw from those teachers there in Magadi at Memusi, and I know just sort of how far some of them go to put in extra effort for their students, and the commitment that they have to that school. It was an environment that I wasn't expecting, and just to sort of work with people and collaborate with people that are passionate about education and are willing to literally do anything for their kids. It's, you know, that is a great environment to work in. It's why I came back 3, 4, 5 other times. I went away from that first trip with Matt, and I said to my directors and other senior leaders at Impact, we got to go back there. That's where we need to be. That we got people there that are keen, that are receptive, and I came back feeling excited and rejuvenated. It's, you know, when you're around people like that, you get excited yourself. And as an educator, I found it very, very motivational. And I know that the teams that I've taken out since have come away feeling the same way. So it's I found it to be a great place to work and a great place to collaborate in.
Brilliant. Nathan, thank you ever so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Please pass our love from me and all the team in Kenya to everyone at Impact Teachers. And we look forward to seeing you again real soon when we're allowed to travel.
Sounds
Thank
good,
you,
mate.
Nathan.
Cheers.
Thank you, Nathan, for bringing that to life for us. I think the world of Nathan. I think the world of the organisation that is Impact Teachers. They do incredible things. I've been lucky enough, fortunate enough to have been on the ground and seen the work that goes on there. I think that observation-based approach that they have, where they tailor a program that actually meets what they're seeing, rather than having a program that they just go and deliver, they are creating a training session every single day. That's just how good they are. We are bringing teachers who've got skills from around the world into Magadi to be able to support the learning approaches that are going on. It fits with the curriculum, but it also means that we can tailor such different approaches to how you engage and how you enhance education. We've already seen it at Memusi. We've started rolling it out at one of our neighbouring schools, and the idea is that we continue to roll this programme out right across Magadi over a number of years. Again, a programme that's been impacted by the pandemic, and I'm really looking forward to this programme coming back. It's sustainable. They leave behind the training and the materials and make sure that there are individuals in the school who can sustain this programme and grow it there as well. So it's not just a training programme that's been and gone. This is something that we embed in our schools. So that's it. That's Memusi Outreach. I hope that really brings to life what we're trying to do in that space. Focusing on our own schools, making sure that they're the best that they can be. And again, to reiterate, all of that stuff that we talked about in Outreach, we are doing in our own schools as well. But we're then trying to, across all of the schools in Magadi, really trying to support those schools to progress even further and have that Memusi education as well. So the final thing that I wanted to talk about within our strategy was influence and how we're influencing change. Now, I really believe in pushing boundaries, in challenging thinking, in challenging approaches. I was fortunate enough a couple of years ago to meet and be introduced to an architect from Halifax who was living and studying in Denmark, and who's later, over the last couple of years, been living in Tanzania and doing development work in Tanzania. It's a lady called Hannah Wood, and Hannah, with a colleague, Christina, had set up an organisation where they were doing work with charities. I spoke to Hannah about infrastructure, about classrooms, about classroom builds, and I set Hannah and Christina a challenge. And the challenge was, I would like you to build a classroom for half the cost. So it costs roughly £10,000 to build a classroom. And classrooms in Kenya are built exactly the same way. What I wanted to do is to halve that cost. Now, I never expected that we would achieve that, but I was always told to go way beyond wherever you target. So I could have said to Hannah and Christina, I'd like to reduce the cost. But what I wanted to do is really push that boundary and say, I'm wanting to halve the cost of construction. So a couple of years ago, I was sent designs from Hannah and Christina that they presented, where they'd managed to halve the cost of construction in an incredibly innovative way. So I caught up with Hannah a couple of weeks ago to hear about that design. So here's Hannah. Hannah, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us to talk about our innovation in education, is what I'm calling it. I've done a bit of an introduction already to tell people about what it is that we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it. But what I wanted to do with you as the architect behind this, is to understand a bit more about the project, about why it's been designed in the way that it has done. So could you give us a little bit more about bring the design to life for us?
Hi Matt, and thank you for the Memusi Foundation for really bringing this design to life. Sure, I can kind of tell you a bit more about the design of the classroom and why it looks like it does. So the kind of fundamental aspect of this building is its kind of location in a hot, arid climate. So you can see the thermal mass in the gabion walls. So during the day, the sun will actually heat up these walls. And because the classroom is a space which is to be used during the day, it will keep the inside spaces a lot cooler. And you can actually see that as well with the roof raised off the walls, and that's to help airflow and cross ventilation. And also with the windows, you can see they're opposite each other. This will all help the hot air to move through the classroom and out to the surrounding environment. And keeping temperatures cooler during the day in the classroom is really important for the kids to be able to learn and concentrate effectively. And another aspect of this building is the idea of actually building community. So the process of construction, actually using rocks as infill into the walls, into the frame structure, is so that it can be built locally. And because of this, it has a very low embodied energy, which means that in terms of kind of an overall sustainability perspective, we're hoping that it will actually have a low kind of embodied carbon. And that's really important when you think of the kind of global impacts of climate change and this type of thing, which will have an impact in the Magadi region of Kenya.
That's brilliant. And I think absolutely the point that you were saying there on sustainability is such an important topic. I think the point that you've raised there about heat, Magadi is consistently over 40 degrees, between 40 and 50 degrees. It's a hot place. So I think having absolutely right, that cool, comfortable environment is perfect. You've talked about the community aspect, which was one of the things that I mentioned to you in brief at the start around having the community involved. But one of the things that I said to you, I don't know whether I ever admitted this to you, but I said to you, I want you to design me a classroom that costs half of what I'm currently paying. I don't know that I ever expected that. I thought I'll push Hannah to limits. I was astonished when I sat down with the builder, and the builder told me how much it was going to be, and it was half of what I was paying. How did you manage that? How on earth have you managed to get the price as it is?
Well, I think, real innovation comes when you have to be resourceful, and, not only for the kind of kids in the region, but also as an architect to have that kind of challenge makes you think outside the box and to look at what you have in the environment. And something, when years ago, when we'd been to the area, we'd noticed this kind of rocky landscape, and we wanted to use those elements actually in the building. And to do that, not only saved costs, but also kind of saved on embodied energy and importing materials, because it's such a remote area as well that there wasn't much infrastructure in terms of construction. So we have two elements in this building. We've got the prefabricated frame, and then we've got the infill. And the idea was to basically use what we had in the landscape and to work with that. And I'm really happy to see kind of throughout this process, it's actually been hitting those, that kind of specification that you wanted from the start. And that will hopefully allow the class and the children to actually invest the money in other things to support their education. So I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah,
absolutely. I regret now not saying, Hannah, can you design me a classroom that costs a quarter of what I've been paying?
That's the next one.
I think, one thing I've said to years to the community, how rich they are in a lot of ways. I mean, clearly there's people in abject poverty, but from they're rich in so many ways. And from a resource point of view, we've got the sun, so from a solar point of view, really beneficial. But now you've drawn something else here in how the environment is, the stones, the rocks that lay around there are absolutely, the key thing that we're just using what's there, what's laying on the site already to build the walls as well. So it's incredible. It also saves transport. We're not having lorries coming up and down as well. So that's it's fantastic. Really is fantastic. Hannah, thank you for joining us. Again, I could talk to you for hours about the work that you do, and I can't tell you how also excited I am about where this project's going to go, and I think really change education in Kenya. Certainly Kajiado, but I really hope and pray Kenya as well, and the rest of Africa. So thank you for being involved, Hannah, and thanks for giving an update to everyone listening in. Appreciated.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, and thanks everyone to your support in this project and for your future support. So
thanks, Hannah.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Isn't that design just incredible? It's great to hear from the architect behind how they approach that. One of the things that I spoke to Hannah and Christina about pre them doing the design was how important my feeling and philosophy was on community involvement and community involvement in what we do. This is never about Memusi Foundation. It's never about me, but this is about us supporting people who are trying to do this themselves. So really important for me that the community are part of this build. I think through that approach to the community being part of the collection of local materials means that they are involved, that they're involved in making sure the materials are there, making sure that the builder has the support needed, and then the builder just uses this really clever approach to learn to build in that helps build the classrooms that you're seeing on screen. It's such a clever idea, but it also plays to the harsh environment, so it's going to be cooler as the temperatures in Magadi remain consistently at 40 degrees. I'm really delighted that we got funding from an incredibly kind family who wanted to give the money to build the first 2 classrooms. Those 2 classrooms have enabled us to start Memusi C. Now, this is within a community that was started by one of our ex-teachers, Josiah, who some of you may know. Now, Josiah is one of the most inspirational people that I have ever met. Josiah, after a couple of years of working for me, I found out that Josiah was using his salary that I paid him to teach at Memusi to give to other teachers to teach in his community because there was no school. For somebody to do that, for somebody to sacrifice so much so that children can learn, I think is just incredibly humbling. He didn't have a school, and he's been teaching those children, or those children have been learning under the shade of a tree. As the school's grown, they've had to evolve to a couple of unsuitable rented properties while other children are still learning under the tree. But that's an incredible school that's there. And I say school, without them having a building, it has still been a school, and they've been doing amazing things. We've supported them for a number of years now. We've supported them with supporting their teachers. We've provided them with food. We've provided them with desks and materials and everything that they need to be able to learn. The one thing that we have not done is start looking at the physical classrooms. So when we got the offer of making these designs a reality, this for me was the perfect place, a great place, and a community who thoroughly deserve this school. I caught up with Josiah to hear a little bit more from him about how he's feeling about the build, how it's progressing. Sincere apologies at this point for the sound. Josiah is incredibly remote. I think he was talking to me from inside a church. The sound's not great, so apologies for the background, but I still wanted to show you because I think you'll really enjoy hearing from Josiah. So here he is now. Josiah, hi.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. It's nice to see you, Josiah. It's nice to see you. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about your school, talking about the school under the tree. So for everybody's benefit who's listening in today, can you tell everybody a little bit more about Nasaru, about the school under the tree, about how it started and why it started?
I started Nasaru back in 2014, January. And we started with 11 kids, 6 girls, and 5 boys. The reason why I started Nasaru School is because one of the schools that are around us are very far from us. And kid walking from Lokobe to Loika is around 20 kilometers, which is very hard. And it has been a bit challenging for Lokobe to have a school because Lokobe has remained for many years without a school. And we have been walking from Lokobe to Loika, which is a very long distance. That's one of the reasons why we started the school. And the other reason is about we have been affected by the culture, the normal practice of the Maasai people. Maasai people do move with their animals. So the small schools that is around us sometimes close up because of parents move with their kids to other places. There is no buildings there. There is no school there. So that's one of the other reason why we started that school.
So it sounds like from what you're saying and what I already know is that there are a number of different factors that you reflected on and decided that a school was needed. Yeah. And I clearly, the school under the tree is called the school under the tree for a reason, because you didn't have a classroom, did you? You started the school under the shade of a tree. Do you want to explain more about that?
Yeah, I started the school under the tree. We used the tree as our classroom, the shadow of a tree, and we used log of woods as our decks and stones. So those are some of the things that we use for the start of the school, and we borrow books from the public school from Moroika. So those are some of the things. That's why we call it the school under the tree, because we do use a tree as a classroom.
And so you started with 11 children. How many children have you got now?
The kid now we have is around 60 to 70 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the school now has outgrown the tree. There's not enough shade under a tree, and there's multiple classrooms, obviously, isn't there?
Yeah.
So I've already spoken to everybody who's listening in about the new classroom. From your point of view, you're there, you're seeing the new classroom being built. Do you want to talk about the new classroom, what it's looking like, how far it's been progressing, how you feel? Tell us a bit more about the new classroom.
The new class, I'm so excited, and I thank you, the Memusi Foundation. I'm so excited. The classroom are nice, they're fantastic. Okay, for the hot areas, the classroom is a bit well ventilated, and kids there do not at least feel a lot of heat because the place is very hot. So the classroom are very nice, and it is really a nice. As we have never seen this, and we really thank you, Memusi Strategy, for helping us with this.
It's the first one, Josiah. It's the first one in Kenya, first one in the world. It's exciting. Who'd have thought it? Who would have thought it? It's great. I'm so excited for you, and I can't wait. So the roof is going to be on next. So did you say that the walls are nearly finished now?
Yeah, nearly finished. Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So we are hopefully a matter of weeks away from a school that you've been waiting for 7 years for?
Yes, 7 years.
Incredible, Josiah. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. I can imagine how excited you are. In fact, I know how excited you are.
I'm so excited.
Good.
In fact, I've been waiting this for a very long time. Even sometime I thought of dissolving school because of lack of classroom, and kids are growing so in a big numbers. But I really thank you. I really thank the Memusi Foundation for standing with me up to this far. I'm so excited, and I really thank you for standing with the kids of Legobe School.
We're standing with you as well, Josiah. We love the kids, we love the community, but we really love you as well. I can't tell you enough how much I admire you. You're a remarkable individual. Thank you for taking the time, Josiah, to speak to us. It really does mean a huge amount, and I think that's it for now. So I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. I think you can tell from that video just quite how happy Josiah is, and me too. I'm so delighted that Josiah's school, the school under the tree, is Memusi C. And I look forward to, over the coming years, just seeing how that building and that school just evolve and grow. So just watch this space on how that program grows. But how is that influencing and what are we ultimately trying to do here? I would never argue that those designs replace the permanent classrooms. They don't. The permanent classrooms are great. They're fantastic. However, there is a real lack of classrooms. There is a need for classrooms still in Magadi and across rural Kenya. There are millions of children across Africa who are not in school. Millions of children all over the world who are not in school because there isn't a school for them to go to. You have communities like Josiah's who are trying their best to provide education and provide everything that's needed. They just need that little bit of a hand up. What we're trying to do here, if you think back to what I'd said there about our philosophy on school, and about a school being more than a building. I spoke to a gentleman who's in charge of a county education fund, and I said to him, "What's the strategy on your education spend?" And he said, "Infrastructure." And I said, "But what does that mean?" And he said, "Classrooms." And I said, "Okay, can I just challenge back though? Classrooms are great, but what's the use of having a classroom if you don't have a trained and qualified teacher, or an unmotivated teacher because you can't pay him, or there's no textbooks or desks or the learning materials and everything that's needed for that classroom to thrive? Is it not wasted money if you've just got a classroom? By having the cost of construction, what that enables is for us to maximise the education spend, for us to be able to take that money that's been saved for that classroom to be run properly. So all of the things I've talked about there in Memusi Outreach, when authorities are spending money, when other charities are spending money, just think about having that construction cost, building with local resources, building this methodology, and making sure that not only do you build a classroom, but you're also running that classroom properly as well, because that's how you achieve quality education. I've already engaged with a number of stakeholders in Magadi and the wider Kajiado County. So Kajiado is the county where Magadi is. And I've already spoken to the education authorities who are really interested in this. My hope is, and the conversations that we're having at the moment, is that we will be able to partner with the government. That means that money that we get through grant funding to move this project forward will be matched by the government, so that we can then be able to again reach more children and reach children in the right way to make sure that they're being educated properly. Through everything that we're doing, through the research, the outputs, everything that we're measuring at Memusi, we really want to influence change, because the more children we reach, the better. This isn't about us and us putting our arms around the things that we're doing and caring for a select few. We're trying to help as many people as we possibly can at Memusi. So that's what we're hoping to do through all of our approaches. I really hope you've enjoyed that session today and hearing from all of the guest speakers to bring to life more about what we're doing. I hope it's informed you. I hope that you feel inspired by what you've heard and understand more about how we're trying to reach and support as many people as we possibly can through our work, and to do so to the very best of our abilities with our own schools. I really believe in this, and I think this is a mission that certainly we'll be following for many years to come. I've no doubt that this model will evolve still over time, but it's already demonstrating such powerful impacts. Hopefully the statistics that I've already shared demonstrate that as well. I really hope you've enjoyed the session today. Before I leave, I yet again just want to say immense thanks to everybody who continues to support us, because everything that we're talking about, everything that I've brought to life today would not be possible without your kindness, without the kindness of the people who donate and the people who sponsor children and the people who fundraise and everything that people do and sacrifice to make this a reality. This is what we're trying to do, and this is what we're achieving, and I hope you feel proud of that as well. I really hope you've enjoyed Memusi Live too. Again, I apologise that we've not been able to do it live. It's just something that I wasn't able to do last week, but I really hope that you've liked this recording as well. If there is anything that you'd like me to bring to life more in Memusi Live 3, let me know. You will no doubt see lots of different content that we're giving out at the moment. I really hope you're enjoying it. If you've not listened to the podcast yet, I spoke to Steve Webb, who's one of the trustees of Memusi. It's broken down into 2 sessions where Steve talked to me about the history of Memusi and more into the background of some of the people at Memusi as well. That's available if you search for Memusi Podcast on any of the streaming stations, if it's Apple or if it's Spotify or any of the other channels as well. Please take a listen to it. We've started a new approach to updating child sponsors. Child sponsor updates are just a nightmare, as you can imagine, logistical nightmare at the moment because of COVID. So we have tried something new for the children who are in Teacher Anne's class, and come September we'll be updating child sponsors through September and October with updates from their classes as well, and I really hope you like how we've done that. Please do subscribe to the Memusi YouTube channel, which you'll probably see below. As YouTubers say, if you could like it and subscribe, then you get to be notified when we put updates on. It's not just Memusi Live; it's any other content that we're creating we'll put on there, and hopefully, again, those videos bring to life more about what we're doing. I'm going to finish off with, again, just another quick video from the kids. I really hope you like these last couple of videos. Apologies that the window content's a little bit small. However, I think the sound will make up for it. So thank you for tuning in again, and I really hope you liked it. Thank you.